Hey there, other holders. Jeff Cutter Diamond, welcome you to another Cutter Degrassism. It was supposed to be like a top 5 or top 10 poll, but I pulled it out of that and making a Degrassism. I've done plenty of Degrassisms, Cutter Degrassi unpopular opinions, top 10 lists, and all that about the Rick Murray situation. But there's one topic I didn't completely cover. Of course, I always covered how Rick was a psychopath and, you know, Rick should never get any sympathy because of what he did to, let's go with the shooting and all that. Despite him being bullied, it was his decision to pull the trigger and shoot Jimmy and nearly shoot Emma. I also talked about the faults of the administration, faults of like the students, and a lot of people's faults and all that. But there was one topic I never got to realize about. It's the whole philosophy about who do you blame for Jimmy being in the wheelchair? It's not who do you blame for the shooting. Who do you blame for Jimmy being in the wheelchair? Like, what is the direct cause of Jimmy being in the wheelchair and who's pretty much responsible? There, of course, were four. I made a poll a couple days ago and it said that tell people you blame for the wheelchair. And I actually had a Redditor by the name of That Ring on My Finger, all one word, saying there's a post about the fact that um, there was always a topic saying, well, who's to blame for Jimmy being in the wheelchair? Well, personally, to me, it's a three-pronged answer because there were three people who I really blame and all that, but like, it's a comedy of errors, a combination. So anyway, so yeah, I haven't done a Degrassi video in a long time. So I did a poll and there were 48 total votes and 2/3 of them were for Rick. Now there were two options that didn't score that high on the poll. One was student body minus named individuals, and I named three students. Like, and one person blamed them more, and staff minus you know who, and 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the 4 people who were picked and give a reason why they should be blamed for Jimmy being in the wheelchair and why they should not be blamed for Jimmy being in the wheelchair. And first off, I'm going to talk about Radich. A lot of people like to quick point finger and point fingers at Radich, saying that he didn't do enough for the students and all of that. And he basically left Rick high and dry. Yes, he left Rick high and dry. There's no doing that. But the fact is that Rick seemed so petty and childish and all that and didn't give any concrete proof. And Radich is full of concrete proof. You give him proof, he'll do it for you. If you don't give him proof, you're on your own. Raj could have easily said, I need more proof, Rick, and all that. Because then that would have made Rick think more and get the evidence he needed. And get Jimmy off the Whack Your Brain team. And I think Raj would have easily taken Rick seriously. But he didn't take Rick seriously. So, like, why you should blame him for the wheelchair? Because he was the administration. He was the end all be all. The buck stops here. Type of person. He was the main guy of the administration. He was the principal of Degrassi. Yeah, 700 students, and he's got several staff members. So he should be taking responsibility for his actions and all that. Because his inattentiveness to the situation, especially bring Rick back to Degrassi. He says it like he had no choice. He did have a choice. He can easily tell Rick to go to another school. Of course, Rick's parents also didn't push him hard enough to leave Degrassi for another school. I think they would have supported him and everything. So yeah, so you can blame him for the intentiveness that led to Rick, getting angry and deciding to bring a gun to school and shoot people. But why you don't blame Radich is simple, because he had no clue that it would lead like this. Radich had no freaking clue that Rick was going to bring a gun to the school and hurt other students. The signs were there, but he never got to them. But the fact of the matter is that, Rick was his own worst enemy, and Radich didn't think that Rick would go bonkers and shoot somebody over spilled paint and all that. Even though Snake tries to tell Radich that he needs to fix the situation. Radich just feels like trying to deflect blame from Snake and all that. Yeah, I can't blame Radich for why Jimmy's in a wheelchair. I blame him for why the bullying happened, but I can't blame him for why Jimmy's in a wheelchair. Next, let's talk about Jay. Scumbag. All I can say is he's a scumbag. People like him, that's fine. In a sense, he's okay, but he just is the devil on everyone's shoulder. Like Sean in season 3, getting him to dump him off and join the Candy Bandits. Season 4, like getting Emma to lose control and to give him a blowjob and to give her gonorrhea. And Amy and Alex as well. You could also say about Alex should be blamed for Jimmy in the wheelchair, but Alex might play the pain and feathers part, but she was not part of the reason why Jimmy was being blamed for everything. I'll get to that a bit later. And then, Snake aside. Yeah. But like, he also got JT to sell Oxycontin in season 5. Season 6, he messed up with Peter and Sean and all that. Some say, oh, would he mess with Sean? Well, he got Sean to leave the scene of an accident. Like, if that was found out, Jay would have been in trouble because he was the one that told Sean to leave the scene of the accident in that street race. If only Sean had basically told on Jay, then Jay would have been in trouble. Jay didn't really face consequences for his actions and all that. That's why I kind of hate him. But hate him or not, the fact is that, Jay was the one. Why do you blame him? Well, he's the one who set up the whole Jimmy blaming thing, and Spinner practically played along with it. Like, Jay's the one who heard Spinner say, dude, Radich knows. Well, they head to the bathroom in the first place. And then Jay says, about Jimmy? Yeah, I'm surprised too. Spinner is, of course, confused, but Jay leads Spinner into it saying, but Jimmy got that sports question wrong and made sure that Psycho Boy was all alone in the final and all that. Rick was at such a point that he should have heard it and then maybe felt like Jay was BSing him. But no, he took it as facts, and then that's how Jimmy got shot. But yeah, Jay was full of it too. Like Spinner, yeah, you gotta blame him because Spinner played along with it and got Rick to believe their BS. Of course, I think that Jay did it to try to deflect blame from Spinner because he figures that if he can deflect blame, then maybe Spinner will not be in trouble. But let's not forget that the deleted scene said that, well, Spinner was clucking like a chicken and Radich basically wanted to talk to him at 3:30 and all that. But we as the audience didn't see that. We the audience practically saw him say Radich knows because he realizes that he bragged to Jimmy and Jimmy's probably going to narc on him. I feel like Jimmy would narc on Spinner because after all, it was a touchy, sensitive topic. So I think that, yeah, Jimmy would probably have been on Spinner's nerves because, after all, he deserved it. So, yeah, so Jay and Spinner definitely should be blamed for putting Jimmy in a wheelchair in a sense because they told Rick false facts and then Rick shot Jimmy. But why you don't blame him is the fact that, yeah, Rick, he was the one who did the deed. He could have easily have questioned everything. But the simple fact also is that they had no clue that their actions were going to have Jimmy being put in a wheelchair or almost in a grave. And all that for how scuzzy they were. Remember, Spinner wanted to come clean with everything, but Jay told him to shut up, and why Spinner kept it. All that. Maybe Spinner just names himself and leaves Jay and Alex out of it. Who knows? Exactly. But the fact is that, Hatzelako's line of your selfish actions have put a boy in a grave and a boy in a wheelchair. Well, when she says it's Spinner, she's right about the fact that putting your actions put a boy in a wheelchair. Yes. But then she's like, and then I'm like, blaming Spinner for Rick's death? No, that can't be right. Rick was his own worst enemy. He got himself in that situation. If he didn't wrestle with a gun like first gun was Sean, then Sean would not have shot him. Accidentally, I think. Maybe it was on purpose. Yeah, but I can't see that. But let's face facts, guys. That I didn't like that line. Like Hatzlako's blaming Spinner for Rick's death. Rick was a psycho. Rick was the bad guy in the situation, and she's trying to protect Rick's legacy. I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. And it feels like she was just trying to please the school board because they were going to destroy Degrassi and all that. The zero tolerance policy sucked because in season 5, the next season, she should have used this zero tolerance on Peter and all that because after all, Peter gave uploaded that video of Manny topless, and he just got detentions, but nothing else. She had her priorities out of whack. And of course, number one is Rick. So anyway, let's see. Why is Rick not like? Let's do it backwards. Why is Rick? Why should Rick not be blamed for putting Jimmy in the wheelchair? Exactly. There's no damn reason why Rick shouldn't be blamed for putting Jimmy in the wheelchair. Yes, of course, the whole thing led to it, as in practically that the student body took it upon themselves to go after Rick after Raditz refused to do anything about it, saying his hands were tied. And also to me, it's like, you know, he didn't clue in right away that Spinner and Jay were just blaming Jimmy to take the heat off themselves, and also to try to break off Jimmy and um, Rick from being friends. Like, I know Spinner, Jay, and Alex were not pleased when Jimmy, their most trusted ally, decided to switch sides after hearing from Rick firsthand about how, you know, the actions are hurting Rick and that he needs to stop it right now. And I know that, Rick was not in his right frame of mind. But let me say this much. Rick brought a gun to the school. He wanted to shoot somebody. He almost shot Paige, but Paige inadvertently saved herself and major harm for her. Rick was in such a zombified state he believed Jay and Spinner's bullshit. And he was in such a state that he didn't believe what Jimmy said to him and all that. Let's not forget that Rick, when he shot Jimmy, wasn't looking at Jimmy when he shot him. He turned his head away in a bit of consciousness and then shot at Jimmy. He got Jimmy in the spine. if Rick really wanted to kill Jimmy with a gun, like do it 100% kill, 100% kill Jimmy, then he would have aimed for Jimmy's head and killed him on the spot, Johnny on the spot. But no, he had that consciousness and shot him in the spine. It could have been worse, but thankfully it was just in the wheelchair, and Jimmy survived. Jimmy could not have survived that shot to the spine. Most people don't, but he did. Of course, that was the plot device to have Jimmy be in a wheelchair and, be an excuse for Mr. Aubrey Graham to leave Degrassi and become the rap mega god Drake. But yeah, Rick was his own worst enemy. He's the one who decided to bring a gun to the school for revenge. And there's no way you can blame anyone but Rick for putting Jimmy in the wheelchair. He took the shot that put Jimmy in the wheelchair. Yes, you can blame Spinner. Yes, you can blame Brad. You can blame Jay. But the simple fact is, Rick did the deed, and you can't feel sympathy for him. That's all I've got to say. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Time, and I do.